Welcome to In Conservation, the podcast of the Wildlife Trust for Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Northamptonshire. My name is Sophie Baker and I'm the editor of our members magazine Local Wildlife and host of the podcast. For this episode, I went back to the Great Fen, our landscape scale restoration project in Cambridgeshire, to chat all things wildlife with Monitoring and Research Officer Henry Stanier. He tells us all about the sorts of creatures that call this wet fenland home, whether it's colonising or recolonising the area thanks to the work that's been happening here for the last 25 years, and explains the importance of data and how and why they keep tabs on how it's all going. The Great Fen is a remarkable flagship restoration project for our Trust and has acted as an inspiration to many in terms of its ambition and scale. It aims to re-wet and restore the former drained farmland between the National Nature Reserves Wood Walton and Holme Fens into continuous wet fenland. That's a huge area of over 120 hectares that now provides a space for wildlife to thrive and which halts the loss of the precious peat that's otherwise diminishing by an average of 2 centimetres per year, locking in the carbon that would escape along with it. And boy, is the wildlife returning and enjoying the fruits of the hard work that goes into creating and managing such a large area of wetland in one of the driest counties in England. And we're only a quarter of the way into the original 100-year vision. If you want to directly support all the work we do looking after the wildlife and wild places of Beds, Cambs and Northants, including in the Great Fen, please donate to our Wilder Future Fund at wildlifebcn.org/WilderFutureFund. Every penny helps make a difference. Now, over to the Great Fen. Here we are at the Great Fen, standing next to a very shrunken looking pond here at Ramsey Heights. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's been very dry. However, there is water in front of you, which is something to note.
There absolutely is.
We have a number of ponds here at Ramsey Heights in the clay, in the Oxford clay. So when it does rain, if it rains, they will fill up with water and slowly they will dry out. But as you can see here, there is still water in here, which is great.
Yeah.
Because today we've been monitoring great crested newts.
Yeah.
And we've had over 80 newts, which is great.
Oh, that's
great.
But
more specifically, we have had a few adults, which you'd expect at this time of year. But more importantly, what we've had is larvae, the youngsters, which is really great.
Yeah.
So we have babies, so that's great.
Baby
that's
newts.
Great, yes.
Don't they have a special name?
You have efts as one of the terms you can use. They are these nice fluffy gills by the side of the head. And as with all babies, they've got really big heads compared to the rest of the body. So yes, they're quite distinctive. Very spotty, the great crested newt larvae or efts are. So what we've done here, earlier in the year, with the help of volunteers, we've been surveying these ponds to see what the adults are doing, because they come in February, March time and get ready to breed in the water, because they've been hibernating on land.
Right.
They come in
I think
start breeding.
That's kind of unexpected, actually. A lot of people sort of think of newts and toads and things like that as just being in the water
completely
all the time.
Amphibious. Yeah, they're not. No. So the adults will be leaving now because they've done their stuff, obviously, because there are babies here. So they won't be competing with the babies actually eating the food in the pond. So we come back later on in the year, after the spring, now, to see if there are any babies in here as well. So we will put in live traps into the water, and we'll put them in the night before. And then what we've been doing this morning is actually bringing those traps in. So you'll see there's a trap here in the water. They're called Dewsbury traps. They're basically a bit like a lobster pot with a bag on top and a float. And it means that the adults can breathe easily and stay inside until you're ready.
Right.
So if I go and collect one of these, you pull in the lanyard, pull into the side of the actual pond, and then you lift it up and then let the water actually come out, and then lift it out onto the side. And then what you do is you take the lid off carefully, make sure there's nothing inside the bag, and then inside there you have great crested newts.
Yes, and
so
they are a lot bigger than I expected.
Yes, they are. Some people have smooth newts or common newts in their pond.
Yes.
These weigh about 10 times the size.
Wow, okay.
So big, usually black, spotty. They've got warts on, so they're sometimes called warty newts.
Yeah.
But now they're finishing what they're doing, these adults, and amongst them, you can see we've actually got one or two, these very spotty, smaller things.
Yeah.
Very filamentous ends to the tail there, but very spotty, and you can see the feathery gills just behind the head. Yeah. You can see their baby's got big head, big head to the rest of the body. So they're the youngsters. So they're getting quite big now because they've been feeding fast. That sort of size, sort of a couple of inches long, is almost the size that we might find them later in the year, in the spring in particular, and they've been born this year. They're the immature ones.
Right, yeah.
Because they will come out, they will lose their gills and become air breathing, and they will then come out sort of August, September time. Right. We've already had one this morning that initially looked like an immature newt, but then when you put it back into the water, you could see it had some just very small gills left over. So you'll find, as with most ponds, if you have a nice sort of saucer-shaped profile with shallow edges, that shallow water warms up faster. So the eggs hatch faster, the larvae can grow faster, and so they develop faster, so they spend less time in the water, and they're out quicker.
Yeah, I see, I see. And this does look very much, because it's shrunken, I mean, there is still lots of water here, but we can see the profile of the edges quite clearly that's sort of out of the water, and they do, sort of shallow ridges, I suppose, almost around the side.
So this pond had a restoration over the winter. So we cleared it out, a lot of the silt. So sometimes, in your garden pond, because of the vegetation, the plants, they die off, it decomposes, and the layer of mud in the pond just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So we've slubbed these out, for want of a better term, so that all the mud's come out and it's gone back down to the clay that's underneath, the Oxford clay. And then what will happen is slowly, you can see it looks a bit bare, but very quickly you can see, look, the reeds have grown already. There's a lot of reed trying to grow back. There's other plants growing as well. There's flag iris over there, or yellow flag, whatever you call it, yellow iris.
To my inexpert eye, having not seen this pond before, I wouldn't have guessed that such kind of, I suppose, destructive looking work had taken place so recently.
It can look a bit of a mess at times. But if you've ever cleaned out your garden pond, that can be a bit messy as well. But this is just on a bigger scale. So, but
the wildlife has clearly come back.
Yes, and some wildlife like ponds that are new, that are very open. So we've seen a few dragonflies fly around here. We've had some very nice days this week looking at the dragonflies, and earlier in the summer we've had workshops looking at dragonflies, and we've had certain species like broad-bodied chasers who particularly like very open new ponds. And as the pond evolves, as it successes, as we say, more vegetation takes over, they won't use it anymore. And other species will use it. But we have got quite a lot of bare ground around this pond at the moment.
There is.
Which is why that one over there, see that very blue dragonfly? It's sort of got a blackened end to the tip. That's a black-tailed skimmer. The blue means it's a male, and they will land on the ground. They like to land on the ground. So if you go walking around a gravel pit or some lakes, and you see these black and blue dragonflies landing on the ground in front of you and flying ahead of you, those will probably be black-tailed skimmers. Once we get more vegetation, they don't perch, you see, like some of the others. So they like to sit on the floor. So they won't come here so regularly. So each stage in the pond, from very open and bare to with some plants to eventually very overgrown, all attracts different sorts of wildlife. And we've got over a dozen ponds here on quite a small reserve at Ramsey Heights, but they're all in different stages. So you never work on them all at once. You just do a few, so you've got them in different stages of development, and so you've got the range of wildlife. So these newts, so the adults, they are very distinctive. They can live for, about 15 years.
Wow,
which
really?
Makes them a very interesting, amphibians and reptiles, they just keep growing. So they can live quite a long time. Makes them a good study subject. Because what we do, if I get one of these great crested newts, this is Bit of product placement.
I can tell you what that is, because it is completely recognisable. It's the lid of a Ferrero Rocher tank.
That's right, okay. An essential part of any ecologist's equipment.
And, forgive me, a slightly manky looking sponge.
Yes, that's been used today. They get washed tonight.
Yeah.
So there is a little newt-shaped profile cut out of the sponge there.
Yeah.
So what I do is I take this this little fellow
carefully
and pot him into the Ferrero Rocher lid.
Yeah.
Sponge goes on top, and then rather than fingerprints, look, tummy print.
Oh my gosh,
it's so bright orange, yeah.
That's amazing.
With all that black patterning.
Yeah.
So I'll photograph that now.
Yeah.
And then I'll store that, and we'll see whether his tummy print matches any of the newts we took earlier this year, or even previous years.
So they stay the same. So that, like,
yeah,
they do. Like
they do change a little bit as they get bigger and as they get older, but basically they stay recognisable.
Yeah.
So then
kind of like whale tails. I see that a lot on social media. People,
that's right.
You know,
they work out the way to identify the individuals.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it? And so that sponge is there, keeping that newt quite still.
Yes, he's
relatively still.
Yes, he's restrained, just temporarily,
gently.
And then he's back into the water there. So that's the processing tub. So I know I've done him. So now on the form you'll see we've got the pond's name, the trap number, the time, the species, because we do get other things here as well. And then I can tick there that we've had a male, and I'll put down that I photographed him.
Yeah.
So you'll see that some traps don't have anything, some may have one. Sometimes when one newt goes in, they all go in. So look, see that one?
Oh gosh, yes.
Look, so 5, 10, 13, 14 great crested newt adults, and 6.
6 Fs.
Yeah,
wow.
6.
Yeah, so they all just followed each other into
That's
that one.
right. Yeah. They do communicate a lot by scent, so you know they can follow each other like that. Yeah. But obviously that was a good placement of a good trap.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to be clear, you have to be licensed, don't you, to handle great crested newts, because they are a protected species.
They are. They're not doing too well in Europe as a whole, but within Europe they do well in this country, and then within England, the area sort of around Peterborough is Great Crested Newt City.
Yes.
And so we have them in most of our ponds, and places like Ramsey Heights and some of the other sites in this area are partly designated as nature reserves. They're special as nature reserves because of the great crested newts.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I have a specific license to allow me to do this work, to disturb them.
Yes.
And use these particular sorts of traps. So yes, it's fascinating work. If I'm out doing it and we've got a school visit, then they're fascinated by all these huge dragons that we're pulling out of the water.
I mean, and because they are really big. I mean, sometimes I see in my work in communications, you know, people saying, oh, I think I've got great crested newts in my pond. What I would say to you after seeing that is, if you are not sure, it isn't.
Yes,
because if you're not sure, like you know, there's no mistaking them compared to a smooth newt, which I see quite a lot of on my allotment, for example. They really are quite distinctively a different colour as well. They have a different sort of
nice,
sense
deep
about them.
and black. The smooth newts are pretty, usually more brown, somewhat spotty. But if you weigh them, the great crested newt will weigh about 10 times the weight of a smooth newt.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So they're sort of the dominant creature in these ponds where there are no fish.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
That's a key thing, actually. When there are no fish, because fish do sometimes just appear in bodies of water, don't they? Like eggs on birds' legs or something, I guess.
That's right. Things do get in quickly sometimes.
How do you stop? Do you stop that happening, or does it sort of naturally?
No, it's most of these ponds. If you design a pond so it will dry out right towards the end of the season, that will control some of the vertebrate, you know, like fish predators,
right? And
so other things like amphibians and insects will do better in them,
right?
So there will be ponds which are permanent. In other words, they've got water in all the time at the Great Fen, and they will most typically have sticklebacks in.
Oh, right.
Sticklebacks, definitely a fenland species. Sticklebacks, get a couple of different species in there. Sometimes you get other things as well. But things do get in, but we're going for a range of different habitats, a range of different types. Sometimes we'll dig a pool, a scrape, that is literally just a scrape in the surface, and that is designed to dry out. So in the spring, when it's wet, it'll get quite muddy, and certain invertebrates will use it, and also well known, a lot of birds, particularly coming on migration, waders, will go around the edges and feed. And then when it gets wet again in the autumn, the same thing will happen again, but it might dry out in the middle of the year at this time.
Which means that fish can't survive there,
basically. Yes, but it's a different type of habitat.
I see.
So we'll have those scrapes, we'll have pools, we'll have ponds, we'll have meres, a whole range of different sizes to suit different sorts of wildlife. And that's the beauty of having the Great Fen, a big site. You can have lots of different water bodies, lots of different stages, all in the same place. So that benefits the wildlife. So you get a good range of wildlife all in one location, which is, very exciting. But some of the ponds in very dry times, like now, will dry out perhaps exceptionally. So they might only dry out every 10 years. Others will dry out every year. Some may never dry out. So, we can cope with that variation because we've got lots of different types of pond all in the same place. So that gives it a bit of protection against the impact of climate change.
Yeah, because it does seem to be getting more frequent, doesn't it? This sort of drought level, rainfall, lack of rainfall. But I think it is fascinating though that the Great Fen, as a wetland, we're restoring it as a wetland, and it's in one of the driest areas in the country. I mean, that is quite fascinating that that's even possible.
Yes, you've got to do a lot of planning. There will be variability in it, but some of the most important parts of the Great Fen are the wetlands, particularly on the peat. There are other habitats here, and there will be other habitats, dry habitats, that we'll be working on in the future. But the peat and the wetlands are often the most important, because often the biodiversity, the importance of wildlife, the peat is one of the most valuable habitats we have in the country, and it has been damaged. A lot of it has been lost. It's still disappearing, and so that's where we start our work in terms of priorities. There will be grasslands. We do have dry grasslands as well. There'll be woodlands and other habitats, but the wetlands are very important, so we start there and then work on the other ones later.
Yeah, absolutely. And monitoring the species is a big part of what we do.
So my name's Henry Stanier. I'm the Monitoring and Research Officer for the Wildlife Trust here at the Great Fen, and I organise a programme of ecological monitoring and research each year so that we can gather useful data about how the Great Fen is doing, whether it's on restoration land that we're working on to improve for wildlife, whether it's the existing nature reserves, the very important national nature reserves of Home Fen and Woodwalton Fen, which are already here, and then also on farmland, which one day we might buy, which is very interesting because it's often not common to have data about the wildlife on a site before you get involved in conservation on the site. So having that before, during and after is very valuable. And right now, thanks to the lottery and the Peatland Progress project, we are doing a lot of restoration to create new ponds and new ditches right now, so that later on this year, well, to be fair, they're already, the dragonflies, which are great colonisers, as soon as there's a little bit of water in there, they're already trying to lay eggs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's the wildlife that's very mobile, like dragonflies and birds, and as soon as you create something, they're in there straight away. You can see flying around us, we've got dragonflies. They do find water bodies very, very quickly and can get in there and lay their eggs. And then next year you find all of a sudden you've got dragonflies emerging, and you perhaps didn't notice or realise they'd already turned up. So it can be very exciting how quickly wildlife can move in.
Yeah, that's it. And because ground was literally broken in the area, is it Speechleys?
That's right, we've got Speechleys and New Decoy and Middle Farm. This year we started on New Decoy, and then we'll be moving on to Speechleys.
So it's literally ground's just been broken this year, hasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that's very new.
It is. And it just, just opens up a whole new world to look at the wildlife and the geology underneath, which is very interesting because that very much affects what we can do when we design our restoration, because geology is very interesting here, very complex, composed of peat, various types of peat, but also the remnants of old lakes like Whittlesea Mere, and going back thousands of years when the sea would have been in this area, and the remains of those marine incursions and the layers that they've deposited. So this all makes a very interesting mosaic vertically as well as horizontally through the Great Fen, which will, well, we have to think what we can do where and what habitats will be sustainable, particularly from water, as you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely, because well, in another podcast that I recorded with Alison and Lorna here about the community work, Lorna mentioned that the drains and the rivers are actually above the level of the land.
Yes,
is that right? Because of how
right.
It's sunk and the kind of fascinating sort of history of drainage and everything that's gone on.
We're trying to add water back, but the water has been drained from the peat, which means it collapses and breaks down and basically blows away. Yeah. And so now the farmland that's been drained is lower than the actual rivers in the area. So you have to spend money pumping water uphill to get it out to grow the crops. But obviously we're trying to protect the peat, and so we're trying to get it wet again. So it's a fascinating subject. Yeah, but we're not trying to get it back to what it was. No, there's not really any way to do that. You've got to look to the future and what's sustainable, workable for the future. Yes. So the fens that were gone have gone, but we're looking to restore the area to a state where the fenland wildlife and fenland habitats can exist in a new mosaic that will still support some viable ecosystems and still work as we go through into the future with things like climate change and other things that impact on our work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The environment.
Here's a little aside, just for you. One reason our 3 counties are a special place for wildlife. BCN Beauties.
Hello, my name is Ruth Hawksley. I am Water for Wildlife Officer for the Wildlife Trust for Beds, Cambs and Northants. Water voles are a charming mammal of our rivers, recognisable from the plop they make if they hear you coming, and made famous by their depiction as main character Ratty in Kenneth Grahame's Wind in the Willows. Once a regular sound and sight of our waterways, they've suffered from habitat loss and from predation by the invasive American mink to become the UK's fastest declining mammal. A water vole's job in a balanced ecosystem is to support populations of predators such as barn owl, heron, fox, stoat and pike. But they do not co-evolve with mink. It's more difficult for them to escape from mink, which can decimate whole colonies. Across our 3 counties, we monitor water voles by looking for their tracks and signs, such as evidence of feeding on vegetation, latrines marking their territory, and the little mown lawns they manicure outside of their burrows. There are a number of healthy populations across Cambridgeshire, including in the fens, where the complex, interconnected network of watercourses and ditches appears to offer them some protection, and in Bourne Brook and the wider Cam catchment, where our monitoring has shown increases in recent years, mirroring a reduction in mink numbers. Thanks to a wide-ranging collaborative project, restoring habitats and removing mink across the whole of East Anglia, led by Waterlife Recovery Trust, these mammals are increasing their range in our area, including the river great ouse. In the Nen Valley in Northamptonshire, where our habitat restoration and management has provided ideal conditions for water voles, but none were resident, we've taken matters more directly into our own hands. Not recorded in the area since 2000, and with any remaining populations in the county finding themselves isolated, with no adjacent populations to seed a natural recovery, we've worked with partners including Natural England, Water Resources East and Stanier Lakes to release captive bred water voles into the area, bringing these mammals back to their rightful place in our countryside.
So your job is monitoring. So you've been monitoring great crested newts today, but I mean, you work across a huge range of species, don't you? I mean, what sort of things do you keep an eye on?
Well, we do the great crested newts. So it's been very interesting this morning because we've had a number of students over on their work experience to help us out with that. So they're learning about what we do and actually getting hands-on experience. So, they'll see the sights, the sounds and the smells of, newly excavated ponds as well.
Yes.
But yes, birds, do a lot of bird transects and also bird ringing to see where birds are moving within the Great Fen and beyond. You see the dragonflies already, so we'll be doing butterfly and dragonfly transects in this sort of weather. We look at the water beetles, which sometimes turn up in these newt traps.
Yeah,
but we also go out.
little
yes,
one.
We've got a little tiny one just swimming around
Yeah.
here. So he'll be released with the rest of the newts shortly and go back in again.
Yeah.
Beetles are very interesting. There's got a good range of beetles here at the Great Fen. Some very, very large, some of the biggest in the country, like the great silver water beetle that we've just discovered has recolonised the fens in the last couple of years. So that's been very exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and it really is quite a size, isn't it, for,
yeah,
for a water beetle?
Yes, that's almost sort of a couple of inches long, big beast. And so that was exciting.
And named for so I find this really interesting, as it's named for the pocket of air, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, that's right. If you watch your pond, sometimes you'll see some of the water beetles. They come up to the surface and they stick their bums out the surface because they actually do breathe air. They can't breathe underwater. So what they do is they store the air under the wing cases and then breathe from that. But the great silverweed water beetle, he has a load of you'll see little golden hairs under his tummy, and that will actually trap a sheen of air underneath the tummy, so a silvery sheen. Right. And when that comes to the surface, it actually goes head first, tips its head slightly, because the air comes down from that end and then goes underneath into various areas to store it, and then it can go under the water to hunt and do its thing. Storing water, storing the air that way. Yeah, that's fascinating. So when you see them in water, they look silver from underneath. Yes. But if you take it out of the water, I guess it doesn't, does it? You just see that you can see sometimes the little golden hairs underneath. But yes, it's just underwater.
That's an amazing.
So yeah, water beetles. Then of course plants on the land as well as in the water bodies as well, and moths. Not been a brilliant year this year for moths.
No.
Been quite cold in the evenings.
Right.
But we've had some interesting stuff. Some people may have had some of the tiger moths in their gardens.
Yeah, do you know what? I've had one on my allotment.
There
I
you
was
go.
so excited. I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was. But
it might have been the scarlet tiger.
Yeah,
lots of spots.
Red and lots of spots.
Yes, so we've got scarlet tiger. I just had one in my garden in the last couple of days, which was the Jersey tiger.
Oh, wow.
Quite similar. That's known to be a migrant, so it could be in the area, but they are expanding their range from the south and colonising new areas, but it is known to be a migrant. And then also in the moth traps a month or so ago, we got the garden tiger, which has lovely sort of black and white spots on its wings. That also, the individuals, they're supposed to be unique with their patterns, but obviously the moth only lasts for a short period of time.
Right.
So we can't do much in terms of monitoring with that. And
And
then sometimes you get little red ones, which are the ruby tigers. So, very interesting. So, yeah, a lot of work on the wildlife to see if it's colonising, how quickly it responds to our restoration work, and in more established habitats, is it still doing well? And then also monitoring water levels. Obviously, we talked about water a lot.
Yeah.
Rainfall coming in, working with partnerships like the UK CEH, the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, to do the work where that's their specialism, to look at climate change, greenhouse gases, and things like that. So, yeah, we have a lot of partnerships gathering a lot of data. Yeah. So it brings in some very interesting discoveries. Yes. And hopefully contributes to things locally and more widely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I've seen a lot of media coverage quite widely of the work that goes on in the Great Fen, and it's often lauded, isn't it, as a good project.
We like to try new things.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. We've got the land, so it allows us to experiment here, which is also very important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you actually, given the newest-ish discovery last couple of years of the great silver water beetle, what other things have recolonised since you've been here? What things have you seen more of, or seen that are brand new in your time?
Well, we do get new invertebrates turning up, which perhaps isn't so exciting for the average person, but it does show things are working.
Yeah.
Birds, though, we are getting more breeding birds, things like the waders and the lapwings. We're getting more of those breeding. Some of the birds which are turning up more readily in this country, the heron family. So many years ago, you might have just seen herons.
Yeah, so the grey guys.
Yeah. So, but now we've started getting little egrets, the little white guys. And then just recently, we started to get more of the cattle egrets.
Oh, wow.
Well, definitely things that are turning up in Cambridgeshire. So that's good. And then also the great white egret, which is just as big as a grey heron, but white.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're turning up. So some of these aren't necessarily breeding yet within the Great Fen, but they'll come with us maybe here most of the year. So maybe they will be breeding in the future. And then of course there's the bittern, which is doing increasingly well.
Oh,
and
that's
then
good to hear, because they're amazing.
That's right.
Birds,
they're amazing in the spring to hear them booming out.
Yeah.
And those, if they're breeding now, they probably will have young. So this time of year is quite good for going out to a wetland nature reserve and looking for them, because they'll be flying back trying to get food for the young.
Right. Okay.
At this time of year.
Yeah, because they're normally quite elusive, aren't they?
They are. They just hide cryptically, camouflage within the reeds, brown and black mottling, which makes them almost difficult, very difficult to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are coming in, and then birds of prey this time of year will have hobbies, eating the dragonflies, because they're dragonfly specialists.
That's amazing. See, I think not many people know. I certainly didn't know that until I worked at the Trust, that there's a bird of prey that specialises in eating dragonflies. I mean, of course, it makes sense, because dragonflies are up there, very strong flyers, and so that and a big catch for a small.
Yes. So they're basically like a small peregrine.
Right. Yeah.
Which we also have here. They have already started to breed on the churches in the area, so they come down to the fen to hunt.
Yeah.
So that's been very encouraging.
Not many cliffs in the fen.
Not really. We're not known for our topography. Not much. No.
So that's where they like to nest.
That's right.
Really.
They'll be in the uplands around the edge, where the conurbations are, where people are living out of the fen, and then things like marsh harriers. I mean, marsh harriers at one point in the country, there was one pair back in the 1970s, but they've increased again, and we have several pairs in the Great Fen, and it was very exciting only a few years ago to actually witness them breeding on the restoration land for the first time. And they've been doing that consistently every year now, so that's very exciting as well. It's not about just creating the habitat, it's actually seeing things move in and doing something different, and it being successful. So that's very exciting as well. But yeah, things are changing. Climate change does mean that things that weren't here before, or weren't very, very numerous, are also changing, so we say naturally, or at least in response to climate change. They're doing their own thing in response to climate change. And so we can chart that as well. And because we have a range of habitats here, things that weren't necessarily doing well before, or weren't here, may suddenly start appearing and find it, and therefore use it. So that's very encouraging as well.
Yeah. To
give. We'll be patient.
Yes. Well, and it's a long-term project, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, we're 25 years in, aren't we? Is that right?
That's right. Yes, 2001 is when it was officially launched, and the first bit of land was just bought out a little bit after that, the next year, and so now 2025. Yeah, we're carrying on, and it's very exciting that, as you say, we bought Speechley's farm only a couple of years ago, and so that will be going under restoration, and that will have a whole range of habitats, and we're already seeing wildlife turning up there. We've already grassed it over, so there's already changes being made, so the wildlife very quickly responds to any change that you make, certainly things like birds and some of the insects do. So we're recording that, both with the help of the team of volunteers we have at the Great Fen, also staff and some contractor work as well. But also we use new technology that we've picked up from some of our fellow wildlife trusts, like the Somerset Wildlife Trust, to do bioacoustics. So actually have monitors record, just sat there electronically recording basically all the sounds they can, all the time, 24/7. And then we go back and we involve another organisation to actually process that data, wilder sensing, and show us results. So again, we're trying new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get information.
I love that idea of bioacoustic monitoring, but it must produce hours and hours of audio that somebody or something has to listen to. How do you go about processing that?
Yes, well, the role of wilder sensing in this is they use artificial intelligence to do all that work.
Right. Okay.
Which helps a lot.
Yes, I bet. Because that must just be if anyone's ever sorted through even just having a camera trap in their garden, for example, where every wave of a blade of grass triggers something. But if you've got something recording constantly, or near constantly, that's a lot of data, isn't it?
It is. So now, hopefully, I just see the pretty graphs at the end of it.
I was going to say,
like that.
Data must be a big part of your job, though.
Yeah, it's a big part. You can gather a lot, but you plough through it as well. Some of it, just being out in the field, you can very quickly assess what's going on. from what you're getting, be able to provide feedback into the management. Other projects are much longer term to see trends, or just to track trends to show that it's been working. Some of it is rather boring data to look at. Some of it, like trail cameras, which you know I love, those can be very exciting. Some of the sites we've been doing monitoring on this year, we've had rafts out with trail cameras, and we've had some really good footage of an otter coming back and forth. And then a couple of months later, there were 2 otters coming back and forth. And then a few weeks ago, there were 4 otters, all on the same raft. So it was obviously, you know, they'd had youngsters, and that was a family group.
Oh, that's amazing.
So having them all coming onto the raft, jumping off, you know, nose into the front of the camera to sniff it as you get, full of bristles. That was very exciting. So it's those sort of things that make it all worthwhile, don't they?
They do. I mean, I think they do. I mean, as a desk-bound colleague, it's always very exciting to get out in the field and to see footage and things as well. I mean, I've seen some of your bird of prey footage as well, which is absolutely amazing to see those birds up close, because obviously on the Great Fen, it being, like, you know, quite big expanses, they only have limited perching opportunities, don't they?
That's right, a bit short on trees in certain places.
Which I guess means you can kind of place cameras strategically.
We have if you like, little monitoring stations which might be recording bats and birds, and then I'll put a trail camera there focused at the sensors because they're on a post, and then all of a sudden a buzzard flies in and sits on the post, or at night you get a long-eared owl suddenly turn up, and so, oh well, I didn't know it was in that area. Fair enough, great. And so you get that. But if you don't try, you don't know.
No, absolutely.
So that's what you do.
Fantastic.
And see what happens.
And long-eared owls are relatively common but quite elusive. Is that?
They're a big favourite with a lot of people. They're scrub species. They list in scrub, often in old nests, things like crow nests and stuff. But they tend to come out quite late in the evening, so you don't see them as early as, say, barn owls, for example. And
very crepuscular species, aren't they?
That's right. Those evening
I like
species,
to get that word in when I can.
You go for crepuscular foraging. There you go. Feeding in the evening. But some species come out later, and you don't necessarily see them. But then, the trail camera, a single post in the middle of several fields where there are no trees, there's a chance something's going to land on it, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So that's where you stick your camera.
Absolutely. Some of your little owl footage as well is absolutely,
they're
so
sweet.
Charming, aren't they?
They are, yes. So, we do well. We've got a big range of habitats, which means the top predators do well, so the birds of prey, that's another popular aspect for the public. Be they just visiting or photographers to come to the Fen, whether it's summer or winter, where we have a different range of species. So, yes, whatever the season, there's something for you here at the Great Fen.
yes, and that's the tourist board. But it's true. I mean, it is true. It's a fascinating place. Are there any species that you would have expected to see back that haven't made it here, or that you've not seen?
Well, I'd like to see more of the cattle egrets, because we have livestock, but we've only had 1 or 2 sightings so far over recent years, and they are elsewhere in the in Cambridgeshire. So we're just waiting for them to turn up in larger numbers. So that would be nice. I'm very interested in dragonflies, so I'm always interested to see new species. There's 1 or 2 species which are probably just migrants that occasionally turn up in the country, and they're well known for turning up, but I haven't seen those in the Fen yet. I haven't recorded them, but that might be being a bit twitchy, and trying to bump our numbers up a bit further, because we have had new species of dragonfly turn up in the Great Fen, usually ones which have moved into the country as a whole, and we're just another stepping stone for them. But our numbers are quite high. We've got over, well, let's think now, it's probably about 27 species of dragonfly, which is really quite good
that's very
for a site. But we have a variety of habitats, which is why you get that diversity. So that's encouraging. I was thinking as whether or not we should be getting some more water beetles, and then hey presto, the great silver water beetle turned up. So that was
Why do you think that waited until now? Do you think there's a reason?
Well, I think it just waited till I turned up, and then it said, okay, it can go now. It does seem, that it might be again to do with climate change. They're very good flyers, actually, water beetles, and with more and more warm weather, that might just stimulate them to start travelling a bit more and expanding their range. And then when they get to habitats that they were previously, because it's a return of the great silver water beetle, then that has obviously found it's the time to do it, and has come probably west from somewhere like the Norfolk Broads, and come across and settled here. And the first discovery was in one of these newt traps last spring, just a male. So you thought, okay, is he just lost, maybe? Or is he just on his own? But usually with those sorts of species, with invertebrates, if you find one, there isn't just one. The chance of you just finding the only one in 2,000 hectares is not very likely. So then when we did moth trapping last year in the autumn, because they come to moth traps, they fly, we had male and female, and in a different area. And then this year, when we've been doing more newt trapping, we found them in yet more areas, more male. So they are here.
They are here.
They are here. Yes.
They are here. Now that's fascinating. So they're strong flyers, but they fly at night if they're in
traps,
right?
Yes, that's right. They will fly during the day. So a lot of invertebrates do on very hot weather. You'll see them take off. Sometimes in very hot weather, you'll see that the invertebrates have turned up and are bouncing off the surface of your car, and it's because the car is polarizing light, a bit like water polarizing light, and they think it's water, but it's not.
No.
So they turn up on your bonnet, for example.
Wow.
But yeah, Norfolk hawker.
Yes.
A dragonfly restricted in theory to water bodies, ponds that only have water soldier, the plant, the one that looks like the top of a pineapple.
Oh, right, okay. And that can take over ponds quite a lot.
It can. You may have visited one of the nature reserves in the area, Paxton Pits.
Yes.
And that's famous. It's got one lake with water soldier in, and it's got Norfolk hawker.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of years, Norfolk hawkers have been turning up in many different places, and they're definitely here now.
Right.
And laying their eggs in other plants.
I was going to say, so they don't actually require the water soldier.
Seems not. Whether that's always been the case, don't know. But they've always been associated with the water soldier. But we've been seeing them in the last year or so laying into other plants. We don't know if that was successful, but last year and this year, we've seen a lot of adults flying around.
Yeah.
And 3-4 years ago, you'd be lucky to see maybe one in a year, perhaps come from somewhere like Paxton. Yeah. So again, things are changing.
Yeah,
so it's very exciting.
And they're quite distinctive, aren't they? If I remember correctly.
They are. Lovely green eyes.
I thought
That's
that was
right.
The one. Yeah, I thought that was the one I was thinking of.
Right now, you see a big dragonfly that's all brown with amber-coloured wings, golden wings. It'll be a brown hawker.
Right.
Summer species.
Yeah.
But earlier on, if you see a brown dragonfly with clear wings but green eyes, the brown hawker tends to have brown or bluish eyes. The green eyes, and it also has a yellow triangle on its back. But you have to get a bit closer to see that.
Yes, I was going to say, they're quite speedy.
But yes, green-eyed beauty in the beginning of the year. So we're talking about sort of May, June time.
Right. And
that's the Norfolk hawker.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another one to add to the list.
Are they going to have to change the name of it? I mean, if it's not in
I think
Norfolk,
there are other names. Well, that's it. So any wildlife, if you call it common, it won't be.
I know.
And if you call it scarce, it won't be, because things change.
Yes.
I think there are names like the green-eyed hawker or green-eyed, to give its name. Brown hawker, fantastic dragonfly, really naff name. Brown hawker. It should be called the golden-winged dragonfly or the amber-winged hawker, but brown hawker, not so much.
Yeah, I feel like people in the past sort of really used up their creativity on names on moths.
Oh yes, and they start running out.
Yeah, and then they sort of everything else is just named for its.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know, for the sound it makes, like a chiff chaff or something.
Something easy.
Yeah, something easy. Yeah, exactly. And are there any species that are missing now that used to be here?
Yes, there's species of butterfly that may never come back. The fens are changing, and so it may be that the conditions in the country may not support them anymore. We often have questions about swallowtails. We don't have swallowtails here, but then we don't have the food plant for the swallowtails here, milk parsley.
Right. Okay.
If you go to the Norfolk Broads, you'll find them actually they've been there very recently, actually, because it's been quite a good season. So I've been seeing swallowtail butterflies and also the 2 stages of the caterpillars as well on milk parsley. But yeah, so they're not around. Things may change in the future. Things may recolonise, but they're not around. There are a whole host of species that you need to consider. Do we know why they've gone? So that if we bring them back, do we know it's going to work? That's the key thing. And then also, as you say, you've got to look to the future, because we are going to have climate change impacting on the site. Will that mean that although at times it might be good for something here, at other times it won't? And so will it be able to survive, or will it just go up and down and then just go extinct again? I think extinction and colonisation is a natural process, but in a whole area, a whole region, you will have populations in some places but not others, and they will go up and down. But that's not quite the same as if it's just not in the region at all. And so things are moving in, like dragonflies. They're turning up and they've never been here, or certainly haven't been here for a very long time. Other species that may have been absent for 50 or 80 years, things like some of the water beetles or dragonflies, conditions are changing and they're coming back again. So you've got to try and evaluate who needs the help and who doesn't. And how patient can you be? How patient can you be?
Yeah, because not everything moves quickly either.
No.
It might come back eventually, but populations of something might only move, I don't know, a very small number of meters every year or something, compared to a dragonfly, which has, extreme mobility and speed, and some birds which do that too. So yeah, I suppose it's and we can't possibly be in control of every single individual species that's coming into a reserve. I mean, what we do, I guess, is build the habitats, maintain the habitats.
That's right. We're a housing department.
Yes.
And then we're waiting for everyone to make use of that, and then fine-tune the refurbishments and the decor.
And the maintenance.
Yes, the maintenance. And make sure the plumbing's working, very important.
Very important.
No one likes bad plumbing.
No.
And then we see how things colonise, and then see whether or not there does need to be some direct involvement to bring new visitors in, assist, or whether they'll do it themselves. And a lot do it themselves. New ponds we create colonise very quickly. Plants come in very quickly. Newts will colonise very quickly. Birds, obviously, other invertebrates. So there's quite a lot that will do the job themselves very quickly, which is very, very encouraging.
Yeah, and then those things, I guess, attract other things.
Yeah, so less work for us.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to step back and say, okay, this will probably work on its own. We just need to dig the hole.
Yeah, absolutely. And a slight tangent, but I just really want to know, what are some of your favourite moments of working on the Great Fen? What would that really stand out to you? How long have you worked here, if you don't mind me asking?
Let's think, 2015. So was it 2015? Yes. So that was, I think, at the end of the year. So I'm almost 10 years here.
Yeah.
And it's about, I don't know, 20 plus years in the trust as a whole. So during that time, I think seeing the new colonists, like the great silver water beetle, looking in trap and expecting to see one thing and seeing something completely different. Oh, no, that's not that. That's something else.
Yeah.
That is a rare moment, because for naturalist ecologists, whatever you're doing, that element of discovery, personal discovery, is always very, very, very satisfying and exciting. A bit like the trail cameras, you bring it in and there may be something you've never seen on it. You never know what's going to come out, and that's very exciting. And then there's the sharing as well. It's about people and wildlife. You are working with volunteers, in some cases for many, many years, and they're developing their skills and going off and doing things, on their own, and getting very excited about seeing things that they hadn't seen before or heard before, and then helping to lead activities like a tour around the Great Fen to show other people the wildlife. And then you get responses to say, oh yeah, we came on a glowworm walk and we expected to see one and we saw 100. But I mean, next year there'll be 50. I mean, these numbers go up and down, but it's that sharing as well to see that people do really love wildlife and nature and want to help and support it. And so it's wonderful to see that when we do want to buy a new piece like Speechley's Farm, then people donate, thousands of pounds to buy the land. But then we need members to keep momentum going, to pay for its management each year, the work. Keep me here as well. That would be nice, thank you. To actually gather the data to show it's working, and then I can go out and do talks and show people the camera footage, the photographs, the people involved, the new wildlife that's turning up to show it's working and that we're doing some good for wildlife and our planet.
And inspire other people to do similar things in other places.
That would be nice, yes.
I think, and I think this project really does that, actually, doesn't it? It has a lot of outreach.
That's what we try to do, yes. Encourage and inspire people to do more, just locally on their own patch, in their own way, as well as some of the bigger projects. It's a whole range of things that people can do to help.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you for showing me around and for showing me the great crested newts, spectacular beasts that they are. And it's been great talking to you. So thank you very much.
No problem. Come again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much to Henry for giving us such an insight into the wildlife of the Fens. The Great Fen is truly a wonderful place to visit at any time of year. There is so much to see. It's worth bearing in mind that it's not one continuous nature reserve, but a patchwork of land in different stages of restoration and with different kinds of public access. So it's worth taking a look at our website at greatfen.org.uk to find out all the best spots for parking and how to experience the wildlife of this landscape. There are many ways to do it. As I alluded to, there's a previous episode of In Conservation where I met with Lorna and Alison to discuss how we've engaged people in the Great Fen and how our new Peatland Progress project aims to bring even more engagement with this magical place. Do give that one a listen. You can catch up with all the previous episodes at wildlifebcn.org/podcast. As ever, I extend a huge thank you to James Williams and Jared Wentwick for the podcast music. If you've enjoyed this episode, do like, subscribe and share with your friends and family, who can listen wherever they get their podcasts just by searching for In Conservation. And finally, let us know what you thought of this episode by dropping us a line from the website or contacting us on social media at wildlifebcn. But for now, cheerio!